Originally, we were going to take a week off, but there's so much going on that we cannot leave you all hanging. This is the 74th episode of VV Gaming's Losers Bracket podcast, and wow, so much going on. There is MLG news, certain laws, a huge new event that's going to take place out in LA for Call of Duty, and later on in this episode, we have probably our most metal guest to date, a very cool interview with a band that you hear every week on our own show. Of course, I'm talking about Powerglove. Stay tuned for that. First things first, MLG just released their league membership program. This is pretty awesome news. If you have not taken a look at this, please do. They have two kinds of memberships available for purchase. One is a silver membership with 3 months of benefits, and the other is a gold membership with 12 months. This includes things like access to HD streams at all events, completely ad-free streams with immediate tournament videos on demand in HD. Additionally, extra game battle support with premium tournaments, trophies, achievements, extra support, and if you're a gold member, discounts on MLG products, partner products, discount for passes to the events. This is pretty awesome news, and if you do subscribe to this membership, you will be supporting the league that we all know and love. I'm really excited about this. What do you think, Jerry?
I think it's overdue. I think that having some kind of subscription wall is important. It's about time that we got to monetize the experience directly and see what people will and will not pay for. At $29.99 an entire year, that is not bad at all. I think anybody who's into competitive gaming, you should buy this. If you're wondering if you're going to get good value out of it, you don't want to be the one that's stuck with the silver or no membership at all. Because other people who are serious about competition and that they want to be able to get access to these services, it's going to be well worth it. I say this all the time. You spend money every day, right? You spend money on overpriced soft drinks and all kinds of other stuff. $29.99 is not a lot of money, and it's something that I think is well worth the investment. If this is successful, then the message that this sends to the partners of Major League Gaming and to the world, there's nothing more important. I'm a huge fan. I'm going to be a gold member. I think it's fantastic.
And if you do play in MLG for Halo and you need, like, say, a pair of Astros, Astro does actually have a deal currently going where if you pay for a gold membership, that's $30, you get $30 off one of their headsets. Bam, that pays for your whole membership right there. There's great benefits to you, even if you don't go to the events, with things like free HD streaming and ad-free streaming from that point on. It's just a wonderful benefit. You have to take advantage of it. Additionally, the first two Korean StarCraft players to attend MLG Anaheim have just been announced.
And oh, were they announced.
Oh,
Obviously,
yes.
the returning champion, MMA, coming back to Anaheim. That is a strong statement. And then the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The man, the king of the game.
The Emperor.
Great legendary man. Jason, we are talking about none other than Slayer Boxer.
Mm-hmm. The Emperor himself, possibly the most well-known StarCraft player in the world. His presence coming to America speaks volumes about this player exchange that the GSL and MLG are doing. I, for one, have known the name Boxer since I was a small child growing up playing Brood War. I am extremely excited to watch the Emperor himself playing on American soil at this tournament.
And I think for a lot of StarCraft fans, you know, this is an important event because we are in Blizzard's backyard. Boxer and MMA are going to be there. And I want to make a note that these are just the first two. Major League Gaming has made it clear that there's going to be 4 total. So will we see July? Who else will we see? Will we see MC? I mean, this is exactly what we need. According to what we know, this is going to be the time that Halo transitions from being center stage and StarCraft becomes center stage. And I think all of us that aren't going to be attending, we're going to be glued to the streams. Let's face facts. I mean, I want to watch Boxer play. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, this is an awesome opportunity.
I agree 100%, Jerry. I unfortunately will not be able to attend Anaheim, so I know that I will be stuck, glued to my computer monitor, watching the StarCraft stream. And of course, Halo and Call of Duty as well, but man, I'm excited to watch Boxer on American soil and see how he does. It's going to be rather entertaining. Now, talking about streaming here for these events, and there is something that could negatively impact us here in the future. Of course, I'm talking about the anti-streaming law that is currently being considered by the United States Senate, S978. This would possibly be a huge blow to all of us, in my opinion. But Jerry, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm sympathetic in a way to what they're trying to protect. This is going to basically sort of be an amendment to our copyright law. And it's really not a lengthy bill. Basically, all sort of two main sections. It says that, they're going to impose imprisonment of not more than 5 years and fine the amount set forth in the law, and basically 10 or more public performances by electronic means during a 180-day period of one or more copyrighted works. The total retail value of the performances or total economic value of such public performance to the infringer or to the copyright owner would exceed $2,500, or the total fair market value of licenses to offer performances of those works would exceed $5,000. So I guess it protects the people who make games and those who distribute them. It allows them to charge money, i.e. to Major League Gaming, for license of the works. For us, for me, for you, I certainly know that we have to start to ask questions about, are they going to bother us for streaming and making revenue? Again, there are a lot of things game developers can do to make sure that you and I and people who purchase their products are protected, so we can, because we do add benefit. And I don't think that they're going to come after us for promoting their game, playing their game, showing their game. However, I think it's there to prevent any kind of abuse. I think a lot of people are very concerned. It's kind of got the anti-streaming law. But if you actually read it, I mean, there are a lot of ways that the developers could, let's say in an end user licensing agreement, they could let us still do certain things, but we can't do it for greater than X amount of money. And I'm sure various companies will do different things. And to be honest, if a company, let's just say as an example, if a company enforces this, don't buy their game. I mean, look at what happened to Sony. And I don't mean this is a good thing, but Sony decided that they were going to enforce some of their laws, so to speak, some of their regulations on one of the anonymous hackers, and they paid a horrible price. I'm not condoning that kind of behavior. I'm not saying it's good, but we have powers to boycott and not support those developers or publishers who have draconic enforcement of this law. And in those cases, I think we shouldn't buy their game. So we still, as consumers, have a lot of power. I don't believe at the end of the day that this law can ruin anything. Because at the end of the day, if you want me to buy your game, you certainly are going to give me the opportunity to stream it, to show it to other people, and give me those opportunities, provided that I'm not using it 10 or more public performances that, exceeds $5,000 for the fair market value of the licenses, that kind of stuff, then we should be okay. So, I mean, I think that is where we would have to be should this go into law. And I think that's going to be quite some time down the road.
Speaking of down the road, not this event, MLG Anaheim, but next event, MLG Raleigh, there is actually going to be another Call of Duty tournament the week afterwards that was just announced. Activision is actually putting together a Call of Duty experience, an entire convention based around the game. And wow, this sounds pretty cool. Entire maps made into real life to play paintball on, gaming events all centered around the new release of Modern Warfare 3, and then the big point of discussion here, a 32-team single elimination bracket with $1 million prize pool. Talk about insanity. Joining us this week to talk about this Call of Duty tournament that is in the works is none other than our own VVV Nynjatic, coach of VVV Fly Society. George, welcome back to the Losers Bracket, sir.
Thank you for having me back.
Of course, of course. Now, the first thing that I noticed is that this is something rather interesting. This is going to be played on the Xbox 360. Microsoft is actually co-sponsoring this prize pool. Tell me, as a Call of Duty player who's been playing in MLG, playing on the PlayStation 3, what are your personal thoughts on this tournament, and how do you feel about it being on Xbox?
I like the fact that it's on Xbox. With Xbox, there's no frame rate lag. It's 60 frames a second. It's extremely smooth. The problem with the Sony PS3 is that there's frame rate issues, and the game just doesn't play nearly as good as it does on Xbox. With the frame rate lag, you have it's a very choppy screen. So when you're shooting, when there's nades going off, it just brings down the frame and quality of the game, and it's just not pleasant.
So, with this event being announced in September, I think a lot of teams have to make some decisions because it's so close to Rally. Also, we don't have enough information, I think, on the event yet to know anything about settings and anything like that. From your talk to the team and just talking to the Call of Duty community as a whole, what has been the response from the people you've spoken to?
That they want to go. Like whether they qualify or not, whether they have a team or not, they really want to go. With what Jason said about the life-size remake of Shipment from Modern Warfare 2, I believe it is, being able to play paintball on that, I mean, that's just an experience within itself. You go paintballing inside a warehouse, big deal. Playing on a map that has been remade to life size is just ridiculous. That's something that I definitely want to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that for a lot of people, they say to themselves, I'm not sure I want to go, but all of a sudden, it's not just a tournament. This I think I'm suspecting is going to be modeled after, say, like BlizzCon, and you really have this Call of Duty first-person shooter type convention with the paintball, with the tournament, and I think an opportunity for a lot of people and their family and people to come to really see the kind of show Activision, hopefully, puts on for this event. It seems huge. They're partnered with Microsoft on this. I think there's a lot of positive things. George, what's the challenge for the teams? Is everybody on the Xbox and the PlayStation 3? Have some people given up on the 360 and now they need to go back to it? What do you think is most gamers in the community? Where do you think they are on this?
Well, a lot of the Call of Duty community is based around the Xbox. I mean, you sign on to Call of Duty on Xbox, you look at the bottom left-hand corner, see the gamers online. It's almost always in the millions. You constantly see 700,000, 900,000. Clearly, a lot of the community is based around the Xbox. So they are catering to the community. With competitive players, specifically in MLG, a lot of those players made the transition over from Xbox to PlayStation 3. So a lot of those players do have Xboxes. They want to compete in this. But one thing that turns into a problem is age, because one of the restrictions is that you have to be 18 or older, which I was kind of disappointed about because that means one of our teammates wouldn't be able to go. And if you follow MLG Call of Duty at all, there's a lot of players that are under 18 that are pro. You have, to name a few, I believe John is one of them, Dose is one of them, and John's on Fear, and they're the third seeded team right now. So with a lot of players that are under 18, it's going to hurt them.
One other thing to note about this event, tickets do go on sale for this in just a few weeks on July 19th. The tickets for this event are going to be $150 each, and only a little bit over 6,000 tickets are going to be available at first. Now, of course, this event is going to cost much more than just that amount of money that they're bringing in. As such, all this money that is being brought in from the tickets is actually going to charity. Really awesome fan service that Activision is providing here, and all for a good cause, too. George, I got to be curious, will you be attending this event?
I would really like to. It's definitely an event that I want to attend, but there are some priorities that come first, and with MLG Raleigh, I don't know. It's really going to depend on how things, even Anaheim, the things are really going to depend on how things go at Anaheim and Raleigh, and with Raleigh being the weekend before, this massive event, it's going to put a lot of strain on stuff at home just because, the amount of time that you won't be home. For me, it'll really depend. I see myself going, though. I really do. This isn't an event that I want to miss.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to have that same challenge. I mean, in a unique way, the West Coast is going to be served. twice this year now with these major events. I mean, they've already got BlizzCon and they'll have MLG Anaheim, and now we're adding this event. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's very good for West Coast gamers because, to be fair, they usually don't get as much as we get in the East Coast and even in the central part of the country. So, I mean, in that regards, I think it's a phenomenal location. LA, it's all good. I mean, in that ways, I think it's all fantastic. My other concern about an event like this is for the players who are making that decision, does it hurt Major League Gaming attendance at Raleigh? And what I mean by that is if the prize pool is that high, are players going to be making kind of a return on investment calculation and saying, we have a good chance to win this, why don't we take a shot at going to this and skip Raleigh? Do you see that happening?
For players, I don't think so, just because even though MLG is on the PS3, it's still good practice. You're still playing against the best people. You just don't get that same type of quality online. So I still think the pro community is still going to go. But spectator-wise and possibly amateurs, I really don't see them going to Raleigh. I think it'll hurt them enough to see an impact, but not enough to really hurt their overall numbers. Because of, StarCraft and Halo is where they pull the majority of their community from. Call of Duty is such a tiny community inside of MLG right now. I really don't see it hurting MLG overall, but the Call of Duty community for MLG, yes, I see it hurting it a little bit just for that event.
Gotcha. Okay. Jason mentioned something earlier, too, that I find interesting. Jason, you said that, the ticket sales are going to be going to charity. And I think that would, in a way, that's definitely something that Activision had to do, because I think they do have a reputation of nickel and diming. A great analogy I heard for their products is, it can be like toothpaste. Call of Duty is sort of the toothpaste of video games. You have sort of, Call of Duty whitening and Call of Duty tartar control and Call of Duty cavity control. And you have all these, sensitive teeth. You have all these various different kinds of variations of basically the same thing. And I think that also, with that reputation, and if I will dovetail this into something else, I want to talk a little bit about Call of Duty Elite, because obviously, they just put out a survey for the beta. And, I think a lot of people are looking at that. And George, what has been the talk in the community from what you're hearing about Call of Duty Elite? Are people optimistic? Do they think it's just another attempt to get their money? What's the conversation?
I haven't heard all that much, to be honest. I've heard a few things, from the pro community that they really want it. It's something that they're willing to pay for. But, playing online, asking people about it, just talking to my team about it, no one really seems all that interested. But that may be because it's just in a beta phase and they really haven't gotten to see what it really, really is. They see the one little image on there. Oh, this is what it's going to be. But that's already what Halo has. I don't know. I think they need to open it up a little more to get more people interested.
Yeah, I think you're right to one degree. It is a lot of what Halo has. They've got some interesting things about accessing Elite through, Android and iPhones. They have a lot of customization, analyzing your weapon performance, giving you the opportunity to sort of analyze maps and sort of detail your match-by-match performance, where you killed or where you got killed, when it happened. So, it's going to be kind of like an in-depth replay. So, all of that seems really, really like a great addition. The question at the end of the day is, what will people have to pay for it, I think. I think that's, part of the big question is it going to add enough value that people are going to really want to get involved with this? And I know that for this service, it's done by something called Beachhead Studio, which I think is a new development studio. So again, I don't know much about them, and I'm not sure what their relationship is. So, at the end, I think you're right. There are a lot of questions. That's probably why the community hasn't said too much, because we just don't know. I think, in a lot of ways, the analytics, to a savvy person, this could be really, I think, a positive thing. Because a lot of times people think this is how they did. And I think it would be really cool if, by using these replays, we have actual facts right? We get actual facts to see, okay, what exactly happened in this game. And I think by being able to see that, it'll prevent teams and players who sometimes have bad memories or believe something happened a certain way. By watching the replay, they'll actually be able to see exactly what happened, where they were killing people, where they died, stuff like that. So I think in that regards, it could be very good for competition and help Call of Duty players get better. That's what I think would be the best case.
George, as always, want to thank you for stopping by Losers Bracket, sharing your viewpoints, of course, on the Call of Duty experience out in LA. And we're looking forward to seeing how your team performs out in Anaheim. I believe you guys currently have the 11th seed, so really excited to see how you guys do. Any shout-outs that you want to give, please feel free. Throw them out.
Shout out to two of my buddies that I play online with at like 4 o'clock in the morning. A-Buck and Scary. I told them I give them a shout out. So this is their shout out, so I don't have to remember it, Anaheim.
You hear them every week on our show. This week, we are very pleased to have the band themselves, Powerglove, here on the Losers Bracket with us. This week, Basil and Nick, two of the members from this amazing band, joining us. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you all doing?
Thanks a lot, man. We're good. How you doing?
Everything is awesome here. It's been a really hectic week in the world of competitive gaming, but for the people that don't know who you guys are, maybe they only know you from listening to our show, tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves. Who is Powerglove? How did you all meet? I know personally, I think you have roots in like Berkeley, I believe, but tell us a little bit about who you guys are, where you come from, and how did you start this amazing band?
All right, cool. So we're all from the Boston area. We've been playing together since high school. We were just, we used to play in like a melodic death metal band together, and we kind of just started this as like a fun little side project. We just recorded a bunch of songs and just threw them online, and it started to take off a lot more than any other bands we played together in. So it became kind of the main project we were working on, and over the years we kept kind of just going with it. And three of us went to Berkeley for a while and kept on actually taking breaks to go hit the road and stuff like that, and then it just kind of became more of a full-time thing.
Guys, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your influences. So you started as a high school band and a high school sort of death metal band. Let's talk about your early influences. What bands sort of influenced you and got you interested in this particular genre of music?
I was always influenced by black metal, like Emperor, and metal like Opeth or Agalloch. And then besides that, I've just always been a big gamer since I was a kid. And I kind of grew up in front of the television, watching cartoons on Saturday mornings. Just the combination of those two things made me want to do this band. Not to mention all the guys in this band, we're all best friends. Or I like to think so, at least.
I hate you.
Yeah. This band, we're also we're very silly, goofy people. So this band kind of allows us to have a ridiculous idea and to run with it. I don't feel like we have to. When we were in normal metal bands, I felt like we kind of had to pretend like we were more serious, even though we didn't really take the live aspect of the bands completely seriously. So this band kind of allows us to add humor and fun into the metal that we make.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And considering that a lot of the bands I listen to on the side when I'm not listening to Powerglove, things like Opeth, Agalloch, that's really awesome to hear that your influence lies there. And it makes perfect sense, especially considering that you have all these great influences with gaming, things like that. But I have a question in regards to that. I mean, like one of the main pictures that you see a lot that you use, one of the icons that you use is the character Zebediah from Totally Rad, which is a game I played a lot when I was growing up. And that made me laugh when I first saw that. And of course, you're using all these melodies from games and things like that, and cartoon shows that we watched growing up as kids. How do you guys go about doing this? Is there any sort of like legal process you have to go through to be able to use these melodies, or is copyright law loose enough, adding in your original riffs, things like that you're still able to change it enough that that there's no problems there? How do you guys go about doing this?
Actually, not at all. basically getting a lawyer is we got to do it for this. I mean, like there's a few games and stuff that are directly on Harry Fox, and you can just get a license for directly. But for anything that we're arrange in any sort of way or anything, we have to like actually clear everything with the publishers and all that stuff. So it's actually quite a big, long, drawn out process. And it makes it a lot harder to do anything. I mean, it takes forever before you can even start writing and recording an album to get in contact with everyone and make sure it's cool for us to play it. So it is actually quite a process.
I want to change gears a little bit, and I want to ask a little bit about your upcoming tour. You have the Summer Slaughter tour coming up. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're going in about 2 weeks. Not even. About a week and a half. We're leaving for it.
And not being anybody who gets a lot of chance to speak to people that are touring, have you been to a lot of these places before? Is this going to be a lot of first-time venues for you? And if so, what do you look forward to? What are some of the challenges for I guess like you said, more fun, more comedic band like this to be on a Summer Slaughter tour?
I mean, a lot of the places, it's a relatively similar route to some of the tours we've done recently. There's a few new places in there. It'll definitely be interesting, being the oddball on a tour. I think it'll be fun though to stand out and be different. It's definitely by far the most brutal tour we've ever been on. But then again, I mean, in December we did a tour with Arsis and Conducting from the Grave, and we didn't really feel much like hatred or anything from the death metal scene. So so we're pretty hopeful about it. But it is it's always a gamble. Who knows? We could get shit thrown at us or something. So, but we're looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, generally, I mean, I can see people prejudging us based on if they see a picture or a video online. Usually, once they actually see us come on stage and play, they'll usually get it a little more once they hear a riff they recognize or kind of see that we're about. Some people will see a picture of us and still think that we take ourselves extremely seriously, which is, I think, just ridiculous. But once they kind of see what we do, we start telling people to kill a bird puppet or throw candy at them and stuff. They kind of get it a little more, and they will usually loosen up a little bit and just kind of have fun with it. And usually we can get people going. We're very into having an interactive live show. And, if we're playing for an audience that's, a bit of a challenge or something different, we just, we think about what they would want to hear and we try to cater them a little bit, just so everyone has a good time.
I can actually speak from personal experience because I was able to finally see you all live when you came down to Orlando just about a month and a half ago when you were playing with Symphony X. Which, by the way, amazing show. And for anybody that is listening to this that has not had the chance to see Powerglove live, please go check them out. As they were saying, as soon as you hear them chanting, "Fuck that bird" on stage, it's a good time.
What shows do you fuck birds at?
Yeah, exactly, right? In regards to touring, I know you guys, of course, just came off the tour with Symphony X, another one of my favorite bands personally. Who are some of your favorite bands that you've toured with in the past, and is there anybody that you have not had the chance to tour with that you would like to perhaps go on the road with at some point?
I mean, I think the most fun tour we ever did was the first high-profile tour we ever did was with Dragon Force. That one was ridiculously fun. I mean, everyone was really really awesome and crazy on that tour. I mean, to be honest, most of the tours we've done recently have been a lot of fun. It's been kind of an honor to go on hit the road with bands that we've been listening to for so many years. Slant Arctica and Hammerfall and Symphony X and everything as well. I mean, bands that we'd like to tour with, there's a whole laundry list, millions of bands that we've been listening to for so long. It'd be awesome to hit the road with. I mean, ones that I could think of off the top of my head, I mean, it'd be awesome to hit the road with someone like Blind Guardian. I mean, one that we've been kind of dreaming about a bit is it'd be awesome to hit the road with X-Japan because they're supposed to come. I think that we're hearing they're supposed to come out. They did like a mini tour last year, so we were hoping they're going to come out and do a full one. But something like that would be really cool.
Looking at the upcoming Summer Slaughter tour, I guess with the Black Dahlia Murder and Whitechapel, this looks like it's going to be a really good tour. But you're right, as you said earlier, looking at the dates, wow, you're somewhere different almost every day. Like, why do you do this to yourselves?
That's how Summer Slaughter goes. And every year this actually seems to be the most crunch tour cycle on it. But every year it's pretty brutal. There's not many days off. It's a really quickly moving tour. And I think that's just sort of how Summer Slaughter is. I mean, I think it'll be a good opportunity to be on, like a festival tour like this and reach a new audience. So, I mean, Yeah, it's brutal as fuck, but
Being on tour is kind of like having the flu for 23 hours a day, and then you don't have the flu for the 1 hour, that you're playing, or the half hour that you're playing. So, all musicians, that's why they tour. It's also fun to have the flu always.
That's
it's also
an awesome
fun
analogy.
Fans on tour, they're nice, and it's fun, hanging out with fans. We enjoy that, but yeah, it is brutal. But you just find a way to get through it, and you push yourself through it because it's worth it to play every day.
And anybody who's interested in learning about your tour dates can go to www.vgmetal.com. And on that website, you can click on the Summer Slaughter Tour. And you guys are going to be launching this July 15th, where you start in Rochester, New York. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And they'll be at the Montage Music Hall there. And then this tour concludes in Nashville, Tennessee, great music city, on August 23rd. And then I'm reading here that after that, you start a fall tour that starts September 15th and goes to October 12th from Atlanta, Georgia to Dallas. Sounds like you are going to have a busy summer and fall. Is that typical for the band?
I mean, this recently is definitely the most consistent touring that we've had. It's been kind of in the last few years been coming up more and more, been getting out on the road more and more. And honestly, I mean, we love it. We like being out on the road and playing and stuff like that, so it's really great. But I mean, yeah, it really depends on the time period. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of things happening and coming up, and we'll hit the road a lot, and other times there's less, and we'll have more time off to work on writing new music and stuff like that. So yeah, right now happens to be a bit of a there's a lot of stuff going out, so we'll be out on the road a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be out on the road for a while, but by no means are we a band that can write an album while we're on tour. It doesn't really work for us. So at some point soon after these next few tours, we're going to take some time and work on the next album, because we like to. I know some bands will finish the whole process in a few months, but it takes us a bit longer. We like to put a lot of time and thought into the album process. So.
Well, understandably so, with the arrangements of these songs being so complex at times. Red Wings Over Baron immediately comes to mind, with all the songs from Final Fantasy IV arranged into this amazing medley. If you could possibly, I've actually read about this in the past, but if you could give some of our listeners an insight into how you guys do these song arrangements, how do you guys create these tracks? What is the process?
We actually write out all of our songs. We tab them out into a MIDI using a program called Guitar Pro. And really, if someone just gets an idea for a song, any of us really just get the idea for a song, we'll just start writing it out and throw a bunch of ideas down and work with it and kind of make it into into a metal song and work with all the arrangements and the parts and stuff. And then we're out of ideas, we'll just send it around to everyone else, ideas back from them, or have them write down their own stuff and program it out. So generally by the time that we get to recording, we'll have some sort of like shell of an album written out as a MIDI, and we'll record along to it. We definitely change a bunch of stuff during the recording process as well. That's where we'll kind of throw down a lot more ideas when we're actually behind our instruments in the recording setting, which is a lot of fun as well. But even before we get to the studio, we'll have a MIDI file of pretty much every song that we're gonna record.
And while we're recording, we don't use we produce the albums ourselves. It's always good to get a second opinion, I believe. So all of us will take it to our close friends and just be like, be brutally honest with me. If you hear anything that sucks, let me know. Like tear it down as much as you can and give me your notes. So we'll all do that for a while, and then we'll take their opinions very seriously. Go back and listen to it. Our first album, we actually. The guy who did a guest guitar solo on Holy Odors, our friend Matt Pickett, he got kind of acted as our producer, and he also wrote some orchestration for the album as well. Helped us out. So he was kind of like a guy whenever something wasn't metal enough or didn't have enough blast beats, he kind of yell at us and be like, Basil, do blast beat there. No, what are you doing the sex beat for? Like, so he kind of kicked us like that. That's actually why Metal Combat for the Mortal Man starts off with that black metal-y blast beat. As opposed, it was originally written completely differently. So
that is too cool. Now, of course, you guys started out doing video game music, or back even on the original Tonal Ponage EP. You had the Power Rangers theme, things like that. Of course, we went into Saturday morning cartoon show themes. Is there any chance in the future that we could see original work from you guys, like your own original arrangements?
Actually, one thing we've been working on recently, during our time off before and after Symphony X, working on a lot is actually theme-based original music. So we've been writing stuff that, it's in order to sort of keep, because we've been thinking about it a lot. We've written a lot of original riffs and parts into the songs, but we've really wanted to at some point start doing some fully original music. And one thing we've been working on is really is writing original songs, but to keep the same sort of vibe, we've been really thinking about a specific theme. So we'll write, like a hero's theme or like a desert theme or something like that, so that it could, would work in a video game or a movie or something like that. So we've been writing actually quite a bit of like theme-based original music recently, and it's been a lot of fun. It's almost kind of liberating to take, to start with whatever you want to, as opposed to with something that's already there. So it has been a lot of fun to write that stuff recently, and still not exactly sure what the format of the next CD is going to be. We've been working on a bunch of video game stuff as well. So I guess time will tell on that front. But yeah, we have been working on a lot of original stuff.
I want to get a chance to get to know each of you a little bit better. So let's start with you, Basil. I mean, age, because the influences to me are so relevant. I mean, just looking at your albums and thinking about pop culture, Transformers, Batman, X-Men, Simpsons, Flintstones. I mean, these are things that are iconic in our culture, especially parts, Inspector Gadget growing up. Tell me a little bit about you, sort of, age, some of the influences, single, dating, married, all that kind of stuff.
So I'm 24, living with my girlfriend right now, actually. We, as far as the, like influences for the band and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of the themes, actually pretty much all the themes we're playing are stuff that we grew up with. They're themes that we saw when we were kids. We'd on a Saturday morning be sitting there with our, bowl of cereal and watching TV and hearing these songs and everything, and they kind of get ingrained in your head because you hear them all the time. A lot of them, especially with, with the video game stuff, when you were growing up, playing Mega Man and stuff like that, you hear these themes and you're like, man, this really kind of sounds like a metal song. I remember thinking, hearing, Spark Mandrill and being like, wow, this kind of sounds like a Blind Guardian song. And that's kind of sort of what originally sparked the idea of like, maybe this could be a metal song. We've all listened to metal for years and, played these games as kids. So it kind of just made sense to go for it like that. So that was, definitely hearing songs that sort of have that element to it. I mean, especially a lot of the Final Fantasy stuff by Nobuo Uematsu. I mean, a lot of that has that like big orchestral quality that you'll hear in a lot of different, behind a lot of different metal bands and stuff like that. So it kind of lends itself to it pretty well. So that's kind of how we originally got the idea to go in that direction.
And Nick, tell us a little bit about you and your sort of early influences.
I'm a bassist, 24 years old, playing bass since I was about 13 years old. After I saw my first metal concert, and the next day when I got home, I bought a bass and I started a band without knowing how to play. So I've always wanted to do this. I started off with bands like System of a Down, which gatewayed into Metallica, which gatewayed into like In Flames, which gatewayed into Children of Bodom, which gatewayed into Gateways by Demo, Demo and Opeth, and so I've always been a kid growing up who I was always in about 3 or 4 bands, and I lived to play live. Even when I was 4, I guess I developed into the frontman of these guys, and that's just because I was always the most obnoxious bass player that I'd play in every single band. I'd always refuse to just go into the back, and I would jump up in the front and get in people's faces and rock out as hard as I could. So I was basically had a very good dynamic with these guys. I met them at a high school battle of the bands when I was 16 years old. And I was in a band that was not as good. In fact, they won second place, I think, at that battle of the bands, and my band won third place. So I asked them, I'm like, hey, you need a bassist? Because they didn't have one. So then they invited me out there to play with them. I left my band. So I guess I was kind of a band whore growing up. So we started playing together, and we had a very good dynamic. I saw how professional these guys were. They took recording and the live aspect very seriously, and everything just kind of clicked. Then when the band that we were growing up in fell apart, I went on and joined a technical death metal band and a black metal band. And at that time, I was kind of like a metal elitist, and I wasn't a huge fan of power metal. And they started up Powerglove. And my original opinion was oh, this is too soft. I kind of made fun of them for it. I'm not gonna lie. a little bit. And then I heard Tetris, and I was like, guys, please let me join this band. Like, I got to get out of this. And then, like, I guess according to our guitarist, he didn't want to let me in at first. Probably
Which one? Is it about Alex or Chris?
Yeah, Alex.
Okay.
Alex, that's the way he'll tell it, at least. So, probably out of spite,
So I remember back in the day, he'd make fun of us. He'd be like, "Oh, you guys are nerds. You're always playing video games. You gotta do metal." And then we went to his place for band practice, and we caught him playing Kingdom Hearts. And we're like, "You're a gamer too, asshole. You're not getting out of this one."
Yeah, it's okay. I've definitely, if I ever thought I was cool, I definitely know that I'm not cool anymore. So don't worry about that. But yeah. Anyway, so I started playing with him. The chemistry that we had before was right there, and like ever since then, I've been in this band for about 5 years now. It pretty much became my life. I really enjoy writing with Basil and just coming up with stupid ideas for the live show and the costumes, and yeah, this band's just too much fun. It just turned into my main project, and I can't even be in another band now. So even though I just actually played a show last night with a band that I was in right before Powerglove called Coffin Birth. We just played a bunch of Morbid Angel and stuff like that. So, yeah, sometimes if I want to get out of the power metal zone, I have like a little outlet as well, None that are successful, so it doesn't matter.
Although the experience hopefully is, we learn from most everything we do. And plus we need outlets, especially creative outlets. I guess that gives you a chance to flex those muscles, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I want to give you guys an opportunity to plug some stuff upcoming, give some shout outs, tell us a little bit about where you want our audience to go and what you want them to see. So I'll give you guys a chance here to shamelessly plug yourself. Please, gentlemen.
Cool. So, yeah, we're going to be leaving in about a week and a half for the Summer Slaughter Tour. We're going to be hitting, I think, pretty much every major city in the U.S. and Canada. So if you're around or free, come check it out. We're definitely going to be putting on, we always try to put on as much of a crazy, wild, fun show as we can, but I think we're going to try to put a little extra push on this one since they are billing us as the special guest halftime show. So I guess we have to be a little weirder. And if you're not into, the more brutal stuff, we are going out on a tour right afterward with Evergrey and Sabaton. So that's, one tour leaning a little more in the power metal direction, one more leading more into the death metal direction.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you should come to this tour because we're going to need your support way more on this one.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Well, I know being here in Chicago that you're going to be in Chicago on August 8th at the House of Blues with a phenomenal venue, a really great venue, actually. And I know you'll be back here in the fall in September at the end of 26th at Reggie's Rock Club. So, both of those, I think are great venues. So if all the places you go are as nice as the House of Blues or as really cool as Reggie's Rock Club, actually, a really cool venue, I think that's going to be a good tour. And I think anybody, again, who wants to see these, vgmetal.com, the tours are there, the dates are there. Check out where they're going to be. Again, July 15th, they're going to start in Rochester, New York, and then go to Buffalo on the 16th, where they'll be at Broadway Joe's. And this will be going all the way until August 23rd, as I said earlier. So, guys, any shout-outs to anybody? Anybody want to say anything to?
Great Zebediah, our Lord and Master and Savior, forever.
Guys, thank you all so much for coming on to Losers Bracket. We really appreciate you letting us use your music for our show, and I know the rest of the competitive gaming scene appreciates it too. So once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, man.
Big thanks again to both Nick and Basil from the band Powerglove for coming on the show this week, sharing their time with us. Also, another big shout out to Vivian and Nynjatic for joining us at the start of the show. We want to thank you guys. I know this show was kind of out of the blue since we said we were going to be taking a break this week, but hey, with as much news and these amazing guests, we had to bring this show to you guys. So thank you as well for taking time out of your 4th of July week to share with us. And of course, we still have plans for next week where we will be having another amazing interview with the owner of another competitive gaming organization. So remember, that is actually still in the works. Definitely want to tune in for that. And I think that actually brings us to the end of the show, Jerry. Am I correct?
Yes, and what a show. I really like the band Powerglove. I'm really glad they came out, and I want to thank them also again. It's always fantastic when talented people come onto our show.
Mm-hmm.
We have covered a lot of good news. I mean, I think this week, thinking about all the changes, that are going on in competitive gaming, it reminds me about how exciting and fluid these times are. You wake up one day and bam, there's a $1 million event in LA. And I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of publishers probably have to up the ante. This begs the question, back when I started in VVV Gaming in 2007, one of the founding members, Dustin, who isn't with us anymore, who really, helped sort of hatch this idea, was one of those who played in the Battlefield tournaments that were going on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox back in 2005. And, with Battlefield 3 coming out, the question that I have is, will EA step up to the plate and do things for its games the way Blizzard and Activision are? And will that be what all the big publishers do? Will Epic have to do something for Gears? Should they do something for Gears? Could they partner with MLG and do something, permanent? I think that right now is an exciting time. Developers have made some money, and they also want to win the war for our dollars. And I think events like BlizzCon, events like this $1 million event that's going to go on in LA for Activision, hopefully more publishers step up to the plate and do that. But overall, I think an exciting week in gaming.
I couldn't agree more. I'm very excited about the future, and I want to thank yet again everybody who listens to this show and makes it what it is, because we enjoy bringing you this news. So once again, thank you all so much. Additionally, as always, thanks to VV sponsors, SteelSeries, GamerGrub, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, and Custom Ink. We've said it all show, but I'm going to say it again. Thanks, of course, to the band Powerglove for supplying their music for our show. We are truly appreciative of them. Additionally, the entire competitive gaming community, thank you for your feedback and support. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. The website is vvgaming.podbean.com. Additionally, you can subscribe to us on iTunes by just searching for VVV Gaming. Our show will pop right up. You can email us any feedback, any questions, any concerns that you might have to the losers bracket at vvv-gaming.com. You can also follow us over on Twitter. The account there is simply known as Losers Bracket. Once again, thank you for taking some time out of your holiday week to share with us on the show, and we look forward to seeing you back here next week.
Take care, everyone. Catch you next week.